Hey, this is the Entertainment Advice Channel. What I want to talk about today is the topic of do the masses ruin everything? So, when it comes to the topic of do the masses ruin everything for story based media, which is things like movies, TV shows, video games, and even YouTube videos, the type of media that, um, is is story themed, if anything, the simple answer to that question is yes, they do ruin things. When it comes to that form of entertainment. So what I'll be discussing for this video today is not only how do the masses ruin everything, but also give a solution to make sure that they're not able to ruin things any more than they've done when it comes to that part of entertainment. Okay, so now that I've mentioned that, let's get started. So when it comes to the topic of why do the masses ruin everything, I just want to point out before this video gets started, I'm not one of those edgy people who just thinks hating on everything because a lot of people like it and this and that is cool, and and those pretentious, I'm trying to be edgy, dark type people. Like, I want to make that clear, okay? I'd have no problem with things being big or this and that. I'm not one of those fucking whack ass like hipster types who anytime something gets big, they just hate on it. I want to make that clear because I want to make sure that you, the viewer, get the best quality imaginable. Okay, I'm not that type of person. Okay, I'm just speaking the honest freaking facts here. And the truth of the matter is, when it comes to story based media, which pretty much is any form of media outside of music, that is entertainment, like movies, TV shows, video games, YouTube videos, the truth of the matter is, uh, specifically those is which is what I'm talking about for this video, they do ruin everything, okay? And that is the honest truth, okay? This is not trying to be edgy, sort of bullshit or trying to come off as smart. It is the honest truth. They really do ruin everything, okay? And let me explain the reason why they ruin everything. So when it comes to the reason why I believe the masses ruin everything when it comes to story-based media, things like that. The simple answer to that question, actually there's a few questions, but the main one of all is it simply comes down to the fact that they give bad suggestions. That is the first main point. Okay, there's another point, or maybe even a few, I'll bring up for this video. But the first main point is that they give bad suggestions, okay? Which, since we live in the internet age, as we all know, the truth of the matter is, to be quite blunt and honest with you, now everybody has a say in things, okay? Whether it comes down to, obviously just some random person on Twitter or Instagram, TikTok, everybody can put their say into things, okay? The everyday person has the ability to put their say in everything, okay? That is the honest truth of the matter, to be quite blunt and honest with you. And a lot of people, especially since fan service has become popular, give some of the worst freaking ideas, whether it comes down to ideas like plots, developments and all that type of stuff. They just give really freaking bad ideas, okay? And not only do they give bad ideas like, oh, do this, do that, do this, do that, they also focus on social issues that are just so fucking dumb. And even as a person like me who absolutely is a liberal and is never going to change their mind, because the conservatives have just made it clear as day that they're a racist party, and they're just not willing to change whatsoever. I have to even admit there's a difference between being offended by things, that actually matter versus things that don't freaking matter. And these people will complain about the smallest of things and will just complain and complain and complain about it, okay? And it's not just for, like movies, TV shows, video games and stuff. It's even for YouTube videos. They just fuss about things that don't really freaking matter. Like, oh, this character, who's actually dark was slightly lighter and maybe the scene or something, which could just be maybe a poor editing issue or something like that. I don't know. They'll complain about that. Or why is there not an LGBTQ plus character in the show? Or it could be something like, oh, why they make the black person as the bad guy in the show? Like, they complain about the freaking silliest things imaginable. And it just makes the show go down and become another generic woke, inoffensive, boring, poorly written show, if anything. Whether it comes down to the identity politics or even just down to ideas of how the show can run, they just do a bad job, in all honesty, okay? And they just screw, as a result, they screw up a lot of great shows and just in general, a lot of great entertainment in general, to sum it up. As I said, this video is about story-based entertainment, and they just screw everything freaking up, and it doesn't help the fact that when they don't get what they want, sometimes they get violent, and not even just violent, they're just straight up they create a lot of controversy, they bully people who make the show and stuff, which is so stupid because they're the people who actually produce a show. Would that make them more likely to not want to do it? But anyway, they, to sum it up, they just act in a very silly, stupid way, that is just very goofy, okay? They just do stupid shit, okay? To sum it up, okay? Which makes it more likely, since we live in a world that's full of a lot of people who are not very brave, it makes them more likely that they're actually going to just give in to their demands, because a lot of people are just corrupted by greed, and not just corrupted by greed, a lot of people just don't have a lot of strength. And you might be working on the show and you might have strength to say, I'm not letting these goofy people online bother me, but not everybody you work with, if you work on a big show or any of the things I was discussing, like movies, video games, and all that stuff, is like a lot of people are not very strong people, and they'll complain and they'll say, you know what, if they don't stop, I'm gonna quit. And then you have to realize at some point, maybe I might have to kind of give in, because a lot of people I'm working with who I need to help me create a show are willing to give up, because they can't deal with the online harassment. And that's an example of how the masses nowadays especially ruin everything, okay? The other thing that, of course, also is a way that the masses ruin everything when it comes to story-based media, is that it comes down to the fact that, as well, to add to that, when it comes to entertainment, this form of entertainment at least, and music is no different. They definitely have played a role in screwing a lot of things up for music as well. But specifically, since, as I said before, we're talking about story-based media in this video, when it comes to story-based media, another thing that they also play into it is that they just kind of try to make things change from what it actually originally was supposed to be, in all honesty, to be honest with you, okay? Like, one of the things that I notice they tend to do is that they tend to expect a show to change. It's not going to be the same exact way, like they expect a show, maybe if it had a very good storyline, to be more simple and simplistic to understand. A lot of times they don't really understand what the show is about, and so on and so forth. And just to sum it up, in general, they just change a show and make the show kind of not as great as it used to be, because they take away the elements that made it special and try to turn it into another generic, boring, dumbed down shoot 'em up show versus what it actually was, or for any story based media, in all honesty, okay? And they just don't understand what it's really about and what it's supposed to represent, and they just screw it up, like they've done too many shows before. And they even were trying to pull off with anime too, but thankfully Japanese people have some freaking balls, so they were not having it, and they didn't have it when a lot of these people online specifically were trying to ruin everything. And that is the honest truth. So even though there's other ways they ruin things, those are the two main ways they ruin things, okay? And I just want to make it clear to people, I'm not trying to be a pessimist. I do believe people can change when it comes to this issue, but I'm just speaking the honest truth. The masses at this point in history really do ruin everything. And I'm just going to get that straightened up. I'm not hiding my words. I'm speaking honest truth here. Maybe they can change. There's a possibility they can change, but at this point, they actually do ruin everything and take everything out of context. And they just screw everything up. And that's the honest truth, okay? So now that I've mentioned that, the obvious question is, what is the solution? Well, the solution is what matters most is that people have is that for any great story-based media stuff, you have a fan base of people who are willing to not only understand what it's about, but willing to defend it, okay? Because in this day and age, due to the internet, everyone can post a comment, okay? Whether it is the bad people or even the good people. So when you see people trying to pull off a lot of bullshit, you have every right to fight back, okay? Because the truth about the masses is the masses, they talk a lot, as history shows numerous times, but when they are coming across someone who's actually going to fight and fight back, they start kind of going quiet and they even start fighting amongst themselves and they disappear, okay? Don't ever take shit in life from people, okay? Especially if it's something that's very important to you, okay? So defend yourself online in comments. It doesn't mean you're bullying them or doing this, but you can point out the things that they're saying that is wrong. And you'll realize quickly, if you're consistent enough, they're going to start backing down and and stop fucking up everything like they actually kind of do, for not just for story-based entertainment, but for literally everything for that matter. And that is the truth. So I hope this video was informative to you, and that is all to say, and I'm out. So bye.